Wholeness. Welcome. This is Josh DePold. That's the name, I guess, if it matters, whatever. And here we are with another Open Wisdom Wednesday. And this is Irregular Wisdom Office Hours. I ask unplanned, general, and specific questions for your wisdom. And you ask me. In the meantime, we share openly, likely from whatever is currently happening, to get at our wisdom. And I renamed this, or maybe on some of the platforms, rename it to just Wisdom Wednesdays. I don't know, because it doesn't seem so open anymore. Of course, people share and things like that, but I still sense this kind of hesitancy to get in and just ask questions, to share one's wisdom. And of course, there's only so many people that can join at once, and it's kind of ridiculous to feel that there should be a bigger audience or whatever. So it is the way it is, and that's how we do it. So this gives me an outlet to talk and share wisdom instead of impose it on those who really don't ask for advice and guidance and wisdom. They want mainly just to be seen and heard, and that's totally cool. For me, I'm kind of that's great when I get that, but the way I do is I give that to myself in a way, because that's really the only way I'm going to get the way I really, really need it and want it. And then when I get it from somewhere else, it's, icing on the cake or whatever. But with that said, that kind of leads me into what occurred to me to think about, to the title to talk about today, even though I haven't really planned much about it, is being overwhelming, or I'm sorry, overbearing and underbearing. So how do we get our bearings on being overbearing for those who are overbearing, ourselves or others, or those of us who are kind of underbearing, or, you know, uh, yeah, or those when we're interacting with others who are underbearing. So I think where I'm at in my life now, it's more that I tend to be more overbearing towards others, and then maybe those who I interact with are here are kind of more underbearing, perhaps. But why do I do this comparison? Is this comparison even helpful? Well, I don't know. It seems I was in a group recently where I just felt I was kind of dominating. Even though I didn't talk about myself, I still took kind of the control, not control, but I was talking a lot in the group. And so then at the end, I kind of dialed back and said, I'm going to take some time off from this group because I want to feel that others can benefit more from actually my absence and not being there. Apparently, I still have. Um, it's just, what do we do when we feel we want to share so much? We have so much to offer. We feel we can help. We feel that those we interact with can actually benefit us so much. And I've been on the other end of this spectrum too, though. This underwhelming thing where I didn't feel good enough. And this tends to happen more in meditation communities too, right? We don't feel like we're worthy enough or good enough. That we have that we don't want to speak up and ruffle feathers. I've been in organizations too where the leadership is just kind of, they on the surface, they and some of them actually are, where they're open to hearing other people's voices, but for whatever reasons people don't speak up. They just kind of go along to get along. And we get it, being humble and restrained is very helpful a lot of times. But, when some people really want to speak up and they feel it can do them a good and do others good, and others can benefit from what they have to say, they choose not to say anything or remain quiet, for fear of being perceived a certain way, or they're afraid of what might happen because of what they say, or they feel it's inappropriate time to talk, or whatever reasons it may be. So then the question comes, well, and then currently too, if it's going to feel underwhelming when I'm learning a new language, right? I feel completely incompetent and under underbearing on that. Like, but it's a good humbling process. So what can we learn from this? What strengths is being underbearing helping us strengthen, and what weaknesses is it helping us strengthen? And being overbearing, what weaknesses is that helping strengthen, and what weaknesses can it? I mean, what strengths can it help fortify too? So underwhelming, being underwhelming. What kind of steps can we take to be balanced more out? So the spectrum of being underwhelming and being overwhelming, those who are might be more consider themselves more underwhelming, you know maybe they need to shine their light more. Maybe they need to not be too concerned, or we need to be less concerned about how people will perceive us, and that we're dampening our light for no reason whatsoever. But then on the other hand, the overwhelming people, maybe they've gone a little bit too far with that. Maybe I've wanted to shine my light too much, and not that I necessarily need to dial it back, but pulling back in retrospect, and okay, what's going on here? Uh, what's the reason other people aren't speaking more? Why do I feel I have that I'm dominating a group, or talking too much, or not giving extra time for others? What seems to be the the challenges here? What's going on? What are the social and group dynamics? What's going on with others? What's going on with myself? And what's going on with the relationship between these two polarities of underwhelm and overwhelm, being underwhelming and overwhelming, being overbearing and underbearing? And I feel some of this might have to do too with, these notions of conceit, this notion that this inferiority conceit, that I'm not good enough, you know, um, that this person is better than me, and I'm either not worthy or deserving, or even if I am really kind of judging them, or even maybe hating on them, I know that that's wrong and I shouldn't express that or say anything about that. But why can't they just shut up anyway and let somebody else speak? Something like this. And then the other one, the superiority conceit of I'm better than everybody else here. I have got so much to say that nobody else can compare to what I have to say. So I'm just going to just lay it all out here, and I have every right to dominate, and it's for everyone's good and all this stuff. So where do we find space to both let those who want to share and have something to say do it in a way that's kind of inclusive, not too much for other people to handle, both beneficial, and others aren't getting triggered and judging. But then how do we also indicate that it's okay for them to dial down a little bit and just maybe be in silence and let someone else who maybe normally wouldn't speak, and how do we encourage those who normally wouldn't share and speak to feel safe, and to be okay to be seen and heard by others? And so these are the inferiority and superiority conceit that I feel factor into this notion of being underwhelming or overwhelming, these extremes. And I wonder if it also has to do a lot about being introverted and extroverted. Just this default notion of, introverts, they recharge in silence and alone time, and extroverts, they charge themselves up and find energy from interacting with people, and sharing and being social and things like that. So where's the mesiovert or ambivert tendencies here to come in and maybe moderate these notions? And And I think it does actually maybe perhaps have something to do with underwhelm and overwhelm. We get in a social situation or some place in life where it's just boring. Our skill level is way ahead of where whatever interactions we're doing. And so we're completely underwhelmed. And a lot of times this leads people to withdraw, detach, become bored, become critical, start thinking it's not worth their time. And then it can potentially lead into things like lack of respect, lack of honor where it's due. Yeah, even so far maybe as to lack dignity towards others. And so how do we find the patience and the strength to be in situations where it is a little bit underwhelming for us? And then the opposite, where something's overwhelming, it just to think about can't really be present at all because it's just too much going on. Like I don't have the resources to be here. I am overwhelmed. I need to withdraw. I need to go into my safe space. I need to find my comfort zone. I can't deal with this right now. I can't deal with these people. This is too much. Why do they have to be talking about what they're talking about? Don't they have any kind of kindness and compassion for who I am and what the world is in these type of things? So what do we do in those situations when we feel overwhelmed, but maybe we can't get out of it? How can we see it maybe differently? How can we, if we need to, unhook and disengage without completely disassociating? How can we take little breaks or breathers? I think some practical things are excusing oneself to either go to the bathroom or maybe going outside for a couple breaths of fresh air. Just being in touch with the body and the breath, and reminding oneself this it won't last forever. It's okay. I've survived worse. I'll make it through this the best way I know how. And then when it's underwhelming too, I think that it's helpful too to be in the body. Okay, now I can be with my breath. If this isn't important and I still have to be there, and there's not much I can learn, I can learn about my relationship to being underwhelmed. I can still be with my breath and be in a meditative state. And what kind of energy do I want to be putting out? Crappy energy that's not going to be beneficial and that will actually cause more, I don't know, chaos and disconnection. So, how can I be in my body and be grounded and contribute something instead of just being judgmental and things like this? And I think one of the things that helped me too is for those of us who will kind of have a judgment and then beat ourselves up or judging ourselves for having a judgment. One of the things that helped me when I learned the teaching that what if there's a silver lining in that? What if it's not really a judgment, because being judgmental and judging one that is not really helpful, it only is really qualifies when we feel satisfaction for judging another, like putting another down or being judgmental towards another in order for me to feel satisfied or somehow good about doing that. That's being judgmental and judging someone that's not helpful. But what if there's just kind of automatic judgment that happens, and then we correct and say, oh, I don't want to be judgmental, or I don't want to judge them. So I feel that anybody that's who's that conscious and then has that correction like that is not being judgmental in a way. It's just a recognition of saying, okay, I see and honor your Buddha nature, your divinity, or who you are as a human, but that type of behavior or that thing is just not for me. So it's just kind of like a reminder that they're into what they're into, and that's not for me. I don't need to look down on them as a human being or say anything's wrong with that, fundamentally or whatever. It's just this recognition that whatever we think is a judgment that we shouldn't be giving is just a recognition that that type of thing is just not for me right now, and that's okay. I don't have to beat myself up over for having that thought. So if anybody would like to share about when they've been, you know, underwhelmed, you know, overwhelmed, these spectrums, overbearing, We hear about overbearing mothers sometimes, helicopter moms and grandparents, but what about underwhelming? Like, I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. If anybody has anything to say or share about these, any questions or anything, feel free to do so. But otherwise, I think I'll let you guys go. It's been 15 minutes already. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in. And may you all find balance and resolve reconciliation in these moments in life that are underwhelming or overwhelming. When we find ourselves being underbearing or overbearing, may we come to find the optimal middle. May all beings realize awakening and be free.